Hello, very good morning to you. Once again, we'd like to welcome you to Table Talk on Benue Television. And it's another day for us to, shake the table. Anytime I talk about shaking the table, we do it responsibly so that you get to understand what's happening in Nigeria and in your neighborhood. Today's edition of the program is going to talk about two different important topics. First of all, we'll be talking about the constitution of board members across the tertiary institutions, state-owned tertiary institutions in Benue State. Today, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Benue State, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Umem Alia, will be inaugurating the board members and their chairmen to start work at the various state-owned, tertiary institutions. And thereafter, we shall also delve into the sincerity or otherwise of the negotiations that are ongoing between Nigerian labor unions and, of course, the government of the day. People have complained that all of this has lingered for too long. If government was sincere and the labor unions were also being very sincere with their negotiations and fight for the plight of the laborers in the state, this would have long ended. These and more shall be part of our programs, as we have had sound analysts. They are already seated to do justice to this very important topic. First, I have Bama Wright, a prolific writer and, of course, a journalist who has had experience over the years. I'm talking about Paul Uga, who is the former chairman, ANA, Benue State chapter. I'd like to welcome you to Benue Television.
Good morning.
Yes. It's another time for us to speak the truth to the Benue people and beyond. I also like to welcome a management consultant and one whose life is dedicated to ensuring that management is a serious business in every organization and institution. I'd like to welcome Fidelis Abako, who is once again here to lend his voice on the two important topics that we have raised here. I'd like to welcome you to the studios of Benue Television. Yes. Now, as a management consultant, I know you would never leave your booklet. You always have it for record purposes. But we will talk about these issues variously. First of all, let's start with the constitution and inauguration of the members to steer the affairs of the various boards and the institutions here in Benue State. I'd like to start with you, Fidelis Abako. As a management person, the board members are to ensure that everything works at the various tertiary institutions they have been chosen to work for on behalf of the state. And I don't know, how does the news come to you, first of all? And what do you think is actually supposed to be the core mandate and responsibility of these board members?
Well, it was a thing of joy when the news came that His Excellency has constituted the board for the management of state-owned institutions.
Yes.
It was an interesting news. But I think if the operation of that board or those board constituted will be good, or will begin to hit the ground going, the first thing is understanding the governor's mission for education. That's the first thing. You look at the governor's blueprint and you discover that education is a top priority.
Yes.
You see what's happening in the basic education.
Yes.
For him to have constituted an office that was completely a new office altogether.
Are you talking about the quality assurance?
Quality assurance
Okay.
office to manage the affairs of education at the basic level. I think he started from the foundation, and now he is extending to the tertiary level of learning in Benue State. It's a whole package.
Welcome back to the program. This is Table Talk on Benway Television, and we are back to continue with our discussion. Remember, before the sudden break, we were trying to actually define what clearly should be the mandate of the board members that are to be inaugurated. According to the executive governor of Benue State, they were to be seated by 10 a.m. today at the old banquet hall of the government house, waiting for their respective inauguration to start work at the various tertiary institutions. Fidelis Abago was trying to lay a preamble to what he feels should be the mandate of the board members. Let's get back to you.
Yes, just as I was mentioning earlier, the first thing is to understand the governor's vision for education.
Yes.
What did he have in mind? As a matter of fact, you look at the general blueprint of the governor, education has been one of his top priorities. You can see how at the basic education level what the governor has done. For him to be able to constitute a quality assurance office with a pioneer director general who is working round the clock to see that quality is ensured at the basic level of education is a clear statement that everybody should understand the body language of the governor regarding education in Benue State. Now, the board that is to be inaugurated today by the governor is to handle the affairs of tertiary owned institutions in Benue. The first thing that I think should be the major task for the people that are privileged to work with the governor in this area of responsibility is for them to understand first and foremost the governor's agenda for tertiary education in Benue. The second thing is for them to be able to understand that they need to work hand in hand with the governing, the leadership of the universities and the College of Education, Polytechnic as the case may be, for them to understand that these people are to work in line with the vision statement of those institutions. Yeah. If you go to Benue State University, there is a mission and a vision statement.
Yes.
That vision is supposed to be the guide for the VC. It's unfortunate that in our time, people are given an appointment to manage particular institutions, and some of them don't have idea of the vision of that institution. This is the beginning of failure. You see, there was a time I had an opportunity to manage some institutions, and the first thing I went there, I asked the proprietor, show me your vision and mission statement. What did you have in mind? What was the reason for the establishment of this institution? Most of these people who have the opportunity to manage these places don't have an idea about vision and mission. At the beginning of failure, because if you don't know why the institution was established, you may not be able to move towards the direction. Now, the governing council is now supposed to now bring in people, because as they keep moving, they hit the ground going. At the time will come that they will have to decide who will be the vice chancellor of either Benue State University, who will be the rector of Benpoli, who will be the provost of the College of Education we have in Benue, as the case may be. So it shouldn't be that they are now going to look at the mandate of who will be the head of this particular institution based on political affiliation, or is my brother or whatsoever. It should be the kind of people who also have an idea about what the governors have in mind about education.
It's all right. That's beautiful. Now, Paul Uga, you've heard what your analyst has posited there. I don't know whether you have something to add to it, or what do you basically think should be the responsibility of these people in your own thoughts?
Yeah, the basic responsibility of those that have been given this assignment is to do things that will enhance the development of the various institutions that they have assigned them to be the chairman, to be the members of whatever board. And if you look at the names or the list of those that have been given this thing, I think you will discover that technocrats are among them. And it's not like in the past that it is given to people because of their political patronage, and in that essence they will go out to look out for what will enrich them rather than doing the real work. But some, even in the higher institutions, they will pull out from the institution or given additional assignment to do the job. And I think with the caliber of people that are there, if they are serious, the aims of the governor or the missions of the governor in enhancing the institutions in the state will be achieved.
It's all right. Now, there is another thing that I would want us to talk about. You may have observed with dismay that sometimes the board members, do you think they really adhere to what they are supposed to do at the level of their appointments? Because we have seen where board members are fighting over appointments in the tertiary institutions. They insist things be done their own way and all of that. I don't know whether you've experienced this or you've heard about this, or you would want to say something so that they have that shape of the mind that this is not what they are there for and this is exactly what they're there to do.
The issue is not far-fetched. People who have the privilege to come to receive appointment from government, I think the basic thing for them to understand is for them to have the larger picture. The larger picture here is not just you. It's not you that is supposed to be the focus. When we talk about institution and constitution, the institution has constituted a board. That means they brought you on board for a purpose, and those purposes are clearly defined. One, the governing council is supposed to understand that there are people to understand the pathway the university should go. They should be able to give direction. They are not supposed to interfere in the management of the tertiary institution in terms of trying to influence issues of appointment, trying to kind of even some go to the extent of manipulating admissions. That before admission list comes out, it must come from this social person. This person may be in choice departments, like when you talk about law and medicine. Some of these people will have special interest, and I think what bothers me about governance is the issue of interest. Anytime people have opportunity, your interest should be at the background. You should push it away.
Yes.
Because you are working for the society. You see the body language of the governor. He's working for the entire masses of Benue. He's talking about Benue is greater than one man. To my mind, I'm looking forward to that time that His Excellency, Reverend Father Dr. Umemalia, will begin to sanction, not just to appoint, you understand, begin to sanction those people who will not adhere to his policies.
Yes.
So that when you, as far as, in as much as people are saying congratulations to them, once you begin to function and your functioning is not in line with the pathway, the body language of the governor, as we have seen. Because I always say that every appointment the governor is making is like governor's office, the governor's office in extension. So you should understand the governor as extended to you, so that when you are beginning to function, you are not functioning away from him, because the masses are looking up to him. But the governor cannot be everywhere at the same time. Therefore, he needs hands, he needs people who will now sit for him, who will now represent him in particular sectors. And I think that's the reason why he is constituting this board now.
It's all right. Now, Mr. Paul Uga, do you think these boards in the past have lived up to their expectations? Because the people have said they just go there, sit, collect allowances, and they get back. They just have their ways to bring in their slots, and at the end of the day, work is done according to them.
One cannot make a sweeping statement that in the past that they did not achieve.
Yes.
If you start to look at a particular administrations, you can assess based on the individual performances.
Yes.
In the past, some did very well, and also some failed woefully. And that is why in this present dispensation is a different one from the past. Just like as my colleague here has just earlier said, It's also, these people are there to monitor the activities of the higher institution they have been choosing to be the chairman.
Yeah.
And also the governor too have to also supervise them on the activities, how they are doing it. At the end of the day, those that are not doing it well, according to how they should work, then they should be shown the way out.
It's all right. Now, the next question would be, are you satisfied with the management of state-owned institutions in Benue for over the years? Let's say, let's do this assessment in the last 1 decade. Are you satisfied?
Well,
with-
the truth of the matter is that when you talk about satisfaction, you have to put a lot of factors on ground.
Yes.
One,
Management-wise, let's start
yes,
from that.
when you look at in terms of the courses that are running in these institutions,
Yes.
because when you talk about a tertiary institution, you are talking about how the level at which courses have been accredited. When you talk about accreditation in terms of, since some of them for the past decades you are talking about, let's say that when these governing councils are on board, do they have initiative that no, our universities, our polytechnics, our colleges of education are supposed to have a kind of innovations in terms of courses that will come in that will improve the educational acumen of the general people in the society as Benue is concerned? Do they look at that? That is the assessment we are going to carry out. Do they know, like now at Benue State University, can you understand there are some courses that are supposed to be there? Are they there? Like now you are talking about artificial intelligence. It's a course that is running in the university currently now in other universities. Would they come and sit down and say that, look, we discovered that even in Benue State University, we should be able to have some of these courses that we address current issues? Because when you talk about artificial intelligence now, AI is what is now pushing the market. It's one of the courses that students, when students study it, he will be able to have a versatile knowledge on how to even stay self-reliant. How do they look at the issues that pertain to skills acquisition? Do we have structures on ground that education will not just be for the cognitive domain, but all other domains will be involved, like the psychomotor and affective? This is the duty. It is not just for us to have lecturers in this university who will come and lecture business education. All these years, some of this we have business education, we have courses that, let's go away from some of these courses that will be able to help our students have a better understanding.
That's right.
And apart from that, the issue of security.
Okay.
We discover in recent time, in fact, when you go to college of education Katsina in recent times, it was like something else. The issue of insecurity. I didn't know because I am not at the government quarters to be able to understand how the matter of security was tackled in that particular institution. So this governing board, they should understand that the task before them is quite embracing matters that pertains to how the standard of education in these institutions will be raised in terms of bringing new courses that will be able to garnish the system, and at the same time how the students will be protected even if the communities are not well secured. The schools should be secured in such a way that the student will be able to go in there with their 2 eyes closed. In recent time we discovered, do you know that in Benue State most of our students are going to Nasarawa State tertiary institutions? Go there, you see them in their numbers.
Why?
I understand that maybe it's because of what I'm talking about, the issue of security on our tertiary institution and all of that, and several other factors that they think that are not consistent here and are there. The assignment is that
I observed that, or I was thinking it's due to maybe cost of education here, because some persons would say that it's way better over
it's
there.
not just the cost. The issues may be quite embracing, actually.
Yeah.
To other persons it may be cost, other person may be security, other person may be even going away from home. The reasons are, but we look at the general issues that we think that they are core, that if they are addressed, one may have our institution as alternative. Why should we have a student here in Benue, leaving Benue State University, leaving some of these college education, are going to Nasarawa State owned institutions. Many of them are there. It is a matter. The revenue that should have been generated from this, our students who are here, they are now pushing it to Nasarawa State University. We are not saying that our parents or students should not have a choice of where they should go for their studies in the tertiary level of education. But we are saying that our tertiary institutions should be packaged in such a way that we'll be able to attract our children, so that they will be able to say, no, we can study at home, no problem.
It's all right. Well, Paul Ogat, before we switch to the next topic, I would want you to also lend your voice here. I do not know, how can you appraise, just briefly, the level of, state-owned tertiary education here? Do you think, tell us about the standard? Because the standard will determine if the board members have been doing well in the past. What's your assessment about the standard so far?
Well, looking at the standard of higher institutions in Benue, Benue is a hub of education in the Middle Belt, and in terms of standard, government's own higher institutions is doing well. You know, if you go across the country, you will discover a lot of people that are excelling in many organizations. You discover they come from higher institutions in the state. When you talk of people moving from here to Lafia or Nasarawa to acquire higher institutions, there are so many factors come into play. If you look at the cost of living here in Benue is higher than that of Nasarawa State. Okay. If you go to Nasarawa State,
so
go to the market, yes, that
there
is one of the factors. Not that the standard is not here. The standard is here, but again, if you look at another critical factor that people are raising in terms of maybe doing PhD or doing master at a higher level, you discover that they run it with speed. The fact that they are strict with the way they handle issues, the issue of delaying students is not much pronounced. That is why you see that people are instead shifting from here to Nasarawa State.
It's okay.
If not, in terms of standard, Benue have the standard.
So summarily, just 1 minute, what will you task the board members to do differently? Because a lot has been done in the past based on what we have said here. Just briefly from the both of you, what would you say this is what you expect them to do beside the normal thing that has been happening?
Well, based on my own understanding, I should say that this board should ensure that I'm saying this particularly for Benue State University.
Okay.
The issue that pertains to postgraduate students, there should be speed, so that the people, if you come to study a course, there should be no unnecessary delays. Students should be dispatched, and the program should be done in such a way that the time limit will not exceed. I think the board should be able to tax the faculties to be able to, everybody's hand should be on deck, department-wise, that there should be no laxity. I think it's from them. Recent time when I went to Benue State University, I discovered that the vice chancellor sometimes go on campus himself, monitoring, going here and there to see how work is done. And you see the faculty is now able to now understand that no, it's not as business as usual. Somebody is supervising us. Somebody is looking at what we are doing. And sometimes even the governor sometimes go on campus and see what is happening. So the truth of the matter is that the tax is that people who are supposed to work should be supervised.
It's all right.
Should be supervised.
There should be strict supervision. That's the summation.
Yes, looking at private institutions like you have Nka, for instance, University at Nka. If you see the way things are done there, because it's private, strict supervisions, if you don't measure up, they will ask you not to even come there and lecture. So if that is done, if that strict supervision is done, they will also sit up and will get better things.
Very well then. And so this is where we have to go on a break. When we return, we'll be taking a look at the sincerity of both government and the labor unions on the negotiation for the minimum and living wage of the country, Nigeria. Let's go on the break. Welcome back to the program. This is Table Talk on Benway Television, and this time around we will be talking about the sincerity and otherwise of the labor unions and the government of the day on the issue of the negotiation for the national living and minimum wage. In the last couple of meetings, we took our time to do an assessment of the board members have been appointed by His Excellency to steer the affairs of the various tertiary institutions in Benue State. Now, gentlemen, the negotiation for the national minimum wage started several months ago. It's barely a year that the talks about minimum wage have lingered. And one begins to wonder if we can take a whole year to negotiate and come up with a figure that would be accepted as the national minimum wage. Then, I don't know your thoughts about this. Do you think the government is seriously and prudently going about this? And do you also think the labor unions are also being very sincere concerning the plight of the laborers in the state? I do not know. Let me begin with you, Paul Uga. What's your thoughts about the negotiations?
Well, I've stated in this medium that the issue is like drama or watching a movie. You know, if you have watched a Chinese movie, you know, their movie could take like up to 2 months, even 3, or the whole year. But at the end of the day, it will come to an end. Like reading a big novel, to take a lot of time before you come to the end of it. We are watching, the Nigerians are watching, because the whole thing is now like a drama, but at the end of the day, we'll come to the end of it.
The question directly was, do you think the parties involved in this are being sincere? Let's have your assessment of the government. Do you think they are sincere?
Well, looking at the whole issue, the issue of sincerity, if they are serious for now, the whole thing would have been tracked for long. But it's taking unnecessary time, so that is why I've termed it as a drama between the two, showing that both of them have not tell us the rating that they're after.
Are you smelling a rat? That maybe both parties may have compromised. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, at the end of it, when they come up with the minimum wage that we announce, we will now know. That is why I said it's a drama. We'll get to the end of it. And when we get to the end of it, we will know whether there is a game plan. So we are still watching.
But where does your suspicion tilt to the more?
Well, for now, I can't predict. When you are watching a kind of some certain complex drama, you can't predict the end of it until you get to the end of it.
You call it a complex drama. Now, Fidelis Abako, you know that and in Africa, the only country that is battling with minimum wage is Nigeria. The rest of the countries, Congo, DR Congo, have come up with Mali, has done theirs. You know, we have our neighbors, Niger Republic have done that. Benin Republic have done it. Cameroon have done it. Why is it so difficult for Nigeria to come up with a new minimum wage?
Well, you mentioned a statement that was very interesting. The issue of sincerity.
Yes.
I think the government is not sincere because there were factors that triggered the issue of agitation for minimum wage.
Yeah.
It didn't take the government time, of course. What triggered the minimum wage was the issue of removal of subsidy. That didn't take the government time. It was a question of minutes, and subsidy was gone.
Yes.
And then factors that are now attracting labor now to come with this agitation now set in. So if the government is able to now say minimum wage is gone, having known that if minimum wage is gone, factors will set in that will bring out agitations, then government should be able to now understand that now that there is no minimum, there is no fuel subsidy, the cost of living has increased and the people are now having issues, there are challenges. So it shouldn't take the government time to have settled with the labor. In terms of the labor unions being realistic, as a matter of fact, in as much as the cost of living in Nigeria is high now, I think to my understanding, my personal understanding,
Yes.
The amount they were pushing was very high.
Yes.
Was very high.
But the economy too took us to a very high level. Don't you think so?
Yes, it took us to a very high level. But they should also understand that, given that the government is granting that the request they are talking about, the economy will go higher. I don't know whether you are able to understand that if the minimum wage that labor is now battering with is granted, you go to the market and things will go times 5. The higher the money, the amount of money that the workers are receiving, that determine the higher the cost of things in the market. Apart from that, if government is not able to understand with labor in terms of what should be paid as minimum wage, the government should be able to put on ground a task force to be able to check prices of commodities in the market. The situation whereby the marketers are watching, they are watching the argument. Currently, my colleagues was talking about the issue of the drama. They are watching the drama, whether it's a tragedy or it's a tragicomedy or all of that. They are watching it. As soon as they discover that the harmony is reached, they will now say, okay, now let's come on board and fix prices of things. And then the thing will be, it is a matter that people will keep struggling with cost of living, not even the money. So there are several factors that government should consider. Government is the one in charge of putting certain things into control. If you cannot give labor what they are looking for, go to the market, influence the costs, talk to marketers, let them understand that you have control over cost of commodities in the market, so that people will not say arbitrarily. They will just go and begin to say the way they want.
Very well. I think I'd like to take you by what you have just said here. There is no price control in the country.
Yeah.
Now remember that subsidy has been removed. The cost of transportation is the responsible factor for triggering what we're experiencing now.
Yeah.
Now, where you have removed subsidy without consulting the various people that are actors and players in the marketplace, where do you garner the power to control the prices of the kind of things they sell in the market when they are paying?
I think what the first thing that the government, I think the federal government started doing was very interesting. Now that you are taking away subsidy, we're talking about, I think I heard something about the CMG something.
Good.
The construction of vehicles that will be able to utilize a facility that is away from the issue of fuel.
Good.
I think that was an attempt.
Are you aware that in the FCT, government has installed over 20 CNG stations already? Have you heard of a CNG station in any of the states?
Then that is a question.
Is it only the people who are in the Abuja municipal that will enjoy the CNG?
That is a question.
Why is there no CNG station in Benue?
Why
is there no CNG station in Nasarawa?
And that bounces back to the question of sincerity. Because if government know that these facilities, if they are in place, then it will go a long way in solving the issues that we are raising now. There should have been an extension to state capitals. So the governor should be able to extend it even to the local governments. So what stopped government from doing that? We know that government have the capacity to have done it. That is what I'm talking about, the issue of sincerity.
Okay.
So people who are at helm of affairs to discuss issues that will favor the general masses, sometimes they relax over them because it's not affecting them. You know, when something is affecting you, you know how to handle it better. You know, but when it is not affecting you the way it's affecting another person, the person is affecting will cry more than the person that is not affecting, and that is what is happening. The people who are deciding the kind of minimum wage that will pay to workers in Nigeria, let's say the factors that labor is crying for, are these factors concomitant with them? Are these factors affecting this government functionalists? Are we talking about, are they suffering to get fuel? There was a time I was in Abuja, and the matter was so critical that we bought a vehicle and we came to filling station and we stayed there for more than 2 hours looking for fuel, and our journey delays.
It's okay. Now, gentlemen, I like to also say here that there is something that we need to say out. very clearly. You must have observed that while we are talking about the issue of the minimum wage and all of that, recently one of the senators who have served since 2003, a very senior senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Ali Ndume, yes, who is the chief whip of the Senate House, was on one of the national televisions, and he could say this with all boldness, that it seems as though the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or the presidency, let's put the presidency so that it doesn't sound individualistic, is being encumbered with kakistocrats and of course kleptocrats. This has actually brought about some debates even within the APC as a government, as a party, and there are some persons who are faithful to the presidency coming up with statements warning Ali Ndume for coming up with such a critic in the open and all of that. He said the president is being encumbered in his cubicle by kakistocrats and kleptocrats. That statement was to mean that the president is not aware of what is happening, the realities in the country, or there are people who are not telling the president the truth of what the people are feeling in Nigeria. Do you think that could be a true statement?
Well, for him to be in government to make such a statement, and the man is not just been there, he have served at various capacities of leadership, and in a simple way that he made that statement, he said the president has caged himself in the villa without knowing that Nigerians are hungry. In the real terms, it's true, because being in that seat or in that position, at times, if you don't detach yourself to see things for yourself, for people that you send out will not give you the good report at the end of the day, because a lot of things to him, he has given up palliative, have given out rice, and everybody is comfortable. That is the picture that have been that people have been giving him, and as a result of that, they are fed, and that is why the man said that he has caged himself. So he needs to go out to see what is happening to people, because if you are there, just like he earlier pointed out, everything is provided for them by government. They don't feel the suffering the masses are feeling.
That's all right. Well, what do you have to say about?
I think well, he has made a point. The issue of monitoring and evaluation is very critical. For the fact when people say that the president is not going out, I don't think that statement is correct. Government has functionaries. In fact, when you talk about the president have a lot of people who are reaching out to the local people. I think the problem is the president should tax some of his functionaries. We have ministers. Ministers are supposed to carry government close to the people, and then what are they doing? So the president should be able to inquire from them. Some of the policies I bring in, like when you talk about subsidy removal, the president sit down to call attention. Please, let's know the impact of this on Nigerians. When they have a fake meeting, the fake meeting should be able to look at what is the impact, because you cannot come out with a policy and you don't sit down to watch and see the impact. I'm sure Mr. President is aware of what Nigerians are passing through. He's aware.
Yes.
He's aware.
Now, if the president is truly aware of what Nigerians are going through, why the delay for the implementation, the institution of a new minimum wage, and the implementation thereafter? Because the more we keep delaying, the more hunger is encroaching on the land, and people are telling us every day that there is hunger in the land, and the hungry people are an endangered species. What do you have to say about that?
When you talk about the issue of taking decisions, I think decisions are very, very critical. Even at the private level, when you are talking about the issue of increment of salaries to private staff and private workers, and you are looking at even 1,000 naira, you know that that is binding on you, and it has come to stay. So you have to sit down and calculate. I think what the government is doing is that the government is calculating how are we going to do this that we'll be able to sustain it. It's not just to say yes to something. It has to do with sustainability. Government is looking at, if we agree with labor that okay, we are going to give you what you are requesting for, are we going to sustain it? I think on the side of government, that is what I'm assuming that government is trying to, because if you don't work a platform on ground to be able to sustain what you are starting today, government will crash. And it will be a funny thing for you to say that the federal government has crashed. It will be something else. And so I think the government of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is like trying to see what are we going to put on ground that will not make my government crash. That is number one. Are we going to have a minimum wage that will be able to sustain it? That is after I do my tenure and I pass government to another person, will it continue like that, or there will be a lacuna in governance? I think it's a wise thing to do. And I think we should talk about the issue of time. In as much as the thing is lingering, I think they should come to a conclusion soonest, so that the matter will now be resolved once and for all, not compromising the matter of sustainability.
So should the minimum wage rest at 62,000, will you be satisfied?
62,000 is nothing to write home about, sincerely.
And you had said earlier that the amount demanded by the, I know I hardly forget when you, that the amount demanded by the labor unions is way too high.
I was even thinking that let's put those figures on the table.
Yes. The labor unions are asking, the recent time they were asking for at least over 200.
Yeah.
Now, at a point, one of the coordinating persons for the economy of this I don't want to mention the name for some reasons, came up with something. He said at least government should be able to pay 105. Now, government came up with 62,000. And Labour has not accepted that.
Yeah.
So now they are just on a parallel line. What do you think Labour should have come up with?
62,000 is nothing home to run, nothing to write home about.
But is 250 too much?
No, 250 is too much.
Why?
I think let's be realistic. It's not a matter of saying that this amount, that amount. The matter is you cannot. Let's begin from where is the minimum wage now.
So okay, yes.
So that is a takeoff point.
And are you also aware that even the 18,000 and the 30,000 minimum wage is not yet fully implemented?
Let's not talk about that. Is that why it's government?
But we're leaving a problem behind.
Discrepancies. Let's not talk about that.
It's okay.
Whether it was implemented in some quarters and it has not been implemented in some quarters, that one is government matter.
Very well then. So what do you think should be the minimum wage?
I think this government pay like 150,000 is not too much. And it's not too much.
Okay.
It's not too much. At least 150,000. Looking at some of these things that if you are working with government, you go to the market, you'll be able to be responsible, buy something.
So what makes you think that 250,000 would be way too much?
The reasons are not far-fetched. I'm looking from the point of takeoff. You cannot insist that somebody should move from 35,000 to, because you were saying that some other places the implementation was not there, and I said no, don't mention that one.
Yes,
as a matter of fact, once the government said 35,000 should be paid, anybody that is not able to pay, that means it's the person's problem. Government that accepted it, you are supposed to pay it. Why you are not paying is your issue.
Yes.
But you cannot say 35,000 to 250,000. What's your parameters of coming up with that kind of figure? When the government talk about 65,000,
yes,
we also look at the parameters from 35 to what to 65. I think that the government is now trying to say that okay, since we the issue of subsidy has come to stay, we discover that there is a multiplication of costs in the market times 2. So let's go with that.
Are you sure it's only times 2?
But based on that calculation, I'm talking as a manager.
As a manager, you have said here categorically that there is suffering in the land, there is hunger in the land, and people are not able to live as they should live. Now, based on the biting economic effect now, do you think multiplication of the minimum wage should just be times 2?
That is why I'm talking about.
When you place the economy.
That is why I'm talking about the issue of moving from that amount to 150,000.
Okay.
Now, I want you to understand that, and I want Nigerians to understand, the Benue people to understand that in life, there's just no way you satisfy everybody.
It's okay.
The issue of satisfaction is an issue
It's okay.
everywhere.
It's all right.
But we are looking at what should be on ground that at least will be a thing that somebody can work with and say no. You understand now?
Yes.
So that we'll be able to now live a life that we are able to put food on the table. But in terms of satisfaction, even if you pay that 250,000. No satisfaction.
It's all right. Human feelings and wants are always very insatiable.
Exactly.
Now, Paul Uga, just 1 minute because we are running out of time. Could you tell us, you know that His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Benue State, even before, when he was campaigning, he said he's ready to, flow with any minimum wage that comes up. He's an advocate of a robust minimum and living wage. So Benue will not even have a problem with payment if finally implemented. But what do you think, based on what has come to be now? Just suggest very briefly what you think should be the minimum wage for Nigeria.
Well, why I even earlier said that the whole thing is drama is that the power between the two, it has prolonged for too long. Because government is insisting on 62,000 and Labour is saying 250 or 200,000.
Yes.
So Labour should be able to at least come to 100 and something thousand.
Okay.
And government should also at least move upward,
yes,
instead of then keeping it apart for too long.
Yes.
And that is why I say the whole thing is becoming like a drama.
And Oga is suggesting that it should be how much?
Yes, if I'm to suggest at least 100,000.
It's okay. 150, at least you are even generous. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I want to appreciate you so much for being here this morning to make this discussion a very engaging one. I must appreciate you, former Chairman Anna Benue branch, talking about Paul Uga. I must appreciate you for being here this morning to lend your voice on the program.
Thank you very much.
I also like to say thanks to you, Fidelis Abako, management consultant, for lending your voice on the program this morning and also giving us insights on what should be done in Nigeria. I appreciate you for being here. Yes. And so this is where we have to say bye. I appreciate everyone for your followership. Benue Television will continue to bring you very interesting programs. My name is Japhet Kwaho. Goodbye.